Relax. That word alone carries more power than most people ever realize. But to truly relax, not just in body, but in mind, in breath, in spirit, is perhaps the rarest form of intelligence. We live in a world obsessed with tension, urgency, hustle. Everyone's racing somewhere and no one knows why. Everyone's chasing a future that doesn't exist yet, while the present moment, the only thing that ever does exist, slips by unnoticed. You were not born to be a slave to the ticking clock, or to be measured by how fast you can climb a ladder built by someone else. You see, when you relax, truly relax, something astonishing happens. The illusion starts to fade. The illusion that you're separate from life, that you're some struggling little entity trying to fight your way through a universe that doesn't care. When you relax, you begin to feel it. You are life. The waves don't fight the ocean to move. They are the ocean. The clouds don't try to float. They are the sky. And you. You're not some isolated ego locked in a flesh suit trying to win a game. But the problem is we've been trained to believe that relaxation is laziness, that ease is weakness, that stillness is idleness. And so we stiffen ourselves into these anxious, hyper-affronted creatures, afraid to stop for even a second, always doing, always pushing, always proving. And the tragedy is not just that this wears us out. The tragedy is that we miss the miracle that's already happening. Life is not waiting to begin once you've earned enough or achieved enough or become enough. Life is not a reward you get at the end of suffering. It's this moment, right now, this breath, this sound, this feeling. And when you truly relax into that, when you let go of the need to control, to manipulate, to outperform, then, paradoxically, everything begins to work better. You move through the world, not like a frightened animal, but like a stream, flowing, fluid, clear. Relaxation isn't the absence of effort, it's the absence of resistance. You still move, you still grow, you still create, but you do it from a place of harmony, not desperation. You begin to listen. Really listen to your body, to your intuition, to the quiet whisper of life guiding you. And this guidance is far more intelligent than the frantic calculations of a restless mind. Do you know why most people feel so exhausted? It's not because of what they're doing. It's because of the tension they carry while doing it. The anxiety of outcomes, the pressure of expectations, the fear of failure. All of that is extra. All of that is mental static, and it drowns out the music of the present. But the moment you let go, just let go, you begin to hear again. The rhythm returns. You breathe deeper. Your shoulders drop. Your thoughts soften. And suddenly what once felt like a mountain becomes a path you can walk barefoot, calmly, smiling. There is a myth we carry that seriousness equals importance, that the more grave we are, the more worthy we become. But think of nature. Think of birds flying, rivers running, leaves dancing in the wind. Nothing in nature is straining, everything is simply being. And yet everything gets done. Flowers bloom, trees grow, seasons change. All without the agony we so proudly wear like armor. You are allowed to relax. You are allowed to enjoy. You are allowed to trust that maybe, just maybe, life knows what it's doing. The mindset that changes your life isn't a strategy or a hack. It's a remembering, a returning, a falling back into the truth that you don't have to force what flows. So sit down, Breathe in, exhale, and ask yourself, what if there was nothing to fix? What if there was nowhere to get? What if the life you're waiting for is already here, waiting for you to notice it? Relax. This mindset, this surrender, will not just change your life. Relaxation is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. It's not an accomplishment, but a return. A return to what you were before the world told you to be more, do more, prove more. From the moment you were born, you knew how to relax. You didn't have to be taught how to breathe deeply, or how to laugh freely, or how to fall asleep in your mother's arms without worrying about the state of the world. That state of ease was your original nature. Before the tension, before the competition, before the weight of performance became your identity. You simply were, and that was enough. But slowly the noise crept in. Be better. Try harder. Hurry up. Do something. Be someone. The world handed you a mask and told you, this is who you are now, and so you put it on, unaware that in the process of trying to become what the world wanted, you began to forget the ease of simply being. You were taught that rest is a luxury, that stillness is weakness, that if you're not constantly grinding, you're falling behind. And so you tightened yourself into a shape that could survive the world's expectations, even if it meant suffocating your true self. True relaxation is not a nap or a vacation. It is not zoning out with a screen or distracting yourself with entertainment. It is the conscious act of surrendering the tension you've unknowingly wrapped around your soul. It is dropping the invisible weight you've been carrying in your chest, in your jaw, in your shoulders. It is a sacred rebellion against the modern disease of urgency. And it is one of the most intelligent, life-changing decisions you will ever make. To relax is to let go of control, not because you've given up, but because you've realized you were never in control to begin with. Life moves with or without your tight grip, and it flows much more gracefully when you stop thrashing against its current. You don't have to force a flower to bloom. You don't have to rush a sunset. You don't need to strain to breathe. These things happen with ease because they are in alignment with their nature. So ask yourself, why should you be any different? The body knows how to be. The mind, however, has been programmed to panic. It has been taught to worry, to compare, to grasp for meaning in places it cannot find it. And the mind believes that if it stops its endless calculations for even a moment, everything will fall apart. But nothing falls apart when you relax. What falls away is the illusion that you were ever separate from life. What crumbles is the idea that effort is more important than presence. What dissolves is the fear that your worth depends on how hard you try. The real experience is absolutely indeterminable. If you just be you, unenter and this doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you engage with life from a place of wholeness instead of lack. You stop chasing validation and start expressing authenticity. You stop begging for peace and begin creating it within. And the beauty is that once you relax into your natural state, you begin to see how much energy you were wasting trying to be someone else. How much strength you lost carrying burdens that weren't yours. How much joy you missed in the moments you believed joy had to be earned. Relaxation is also deeply courageous. because to relax in a tense world is to be misunderstood. People might call you lazy. They might accuse you of being unrealistic. But what they don't realize is that you're no longer playing their game. You've stepped out of the race, not because you couldn't win, but because you finally understood the prize wasn't worth your peace. You stopped running not because you're tired, but because you woke up to the fact that you were chasing a finish line that keeps moving. You dared to be still. And in that stillness, you found clarity, truth, and alignment. There is a kind of wisdom that only arises when you are calm enough to hear it, when you're no longer shouting over your own anxiety, when you're no longer pushing yourself to exhaustion. It arrives quietly, like a whisper. But its impact is profound. It reminds you that the universe is not against you, that the path ahead doesn't require strain, just awareness, that when you're relaxed, you see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You hear your intuition where you once only heard noise. You connect deeply, love fully, move intentionally. And none of it feels like effort, because effort born from tension burns out. But action born from ease is sustainable, joyful, and magnetic. Look at nature. It is always doing, always becoming, yet it never hurries. The tree doesn't scream as it grows. The ocean doesn't apologize for its stillness or its storms. It simply moves as it must, with perfect rhythm. You too have a rhythm. And when you relax, you reconnect with it. You stop mimicking others and start dancing to your own inner music. And in that dance you remember. Life was never meant to be endured. It was meant to be lived, freely, lightly, deeply. And only when you return to your natural state of relaxation can you begin to live that way again. There's a curious truth that most people never quite grasp, and it's this. Life is not something you conquer, it's something you cooperate with. We have been taught almost from the moment we can speak that life must be pushed, wrestled, forced into submission. That if you want anything, success, love, peace, you have to fight for it, wrestle with it, demand it. But look closely and you'll see that the harder you try to force life to bend to your will, the more it resists you. That if you, it's like trying to grab water with clenched fists. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Now imagine if you just opened your hand. Imagine if you stopped resisting what is and started aligning with it. This is where everything begins to shift. Not through struggle, but through surrender. Not through aggression, but through awareness. There is a deep intelligence running through everything. A rhythm, a flow, a current. And when you fight against it, you create suffering. But when you release that resistance, when you learn to float instead of flail, suddenly life starts working with you. Certainly. Life. Most people live in a constant state of internal war. They wake up already bracing themselves, bracing for conflict, for disappointment, for the world to let them down again. And so they move through the day with armor on, tight, guarded, rigid. But what they don't realize is that this resistance is not protecting them, it's suffocating them. Resistance creates friction, and friction burns energy. This is why they're exhausted all the time, not just physically, but spiritually. They are fighting against the natural movement of life instead of learning how to listen to it. There's something almost magical that happens when you stop resisting. Life, which once seemed so hostile and indifferent, begins to feel softer, even responsive. You start to notice things you were too distracted to see before. You become aware of synchronicities, subtle signs, and intuitive nudges. It's not that life suddenly becomes easy, it's that your relationship to it changes. The storm may still rage, but you are no longer shouting into the wind. You're learning to walk with it, to understand its direction, to see that sometimes the path of least resistance is not laziness, it's wisdom. People confuse effort with progress, but effort that comes from resistance is different from effort that comes from flow. One drains you, the other energizes you. Think about the last time you were fully immersed in something, completely present, engaged, in the zone. You weren't struggling, were you? You weren't resisting. You were flowing. And in that state, things just worked. Time moved differently. Ideas came easily. You felt alive. That wasn't a fluke. That was a glimpse into what life looks like when you stop getting in your own way. The belief that everything worth having must be earned through struggle is deeply rooted, but also deeply flawed. Struggle is often the result of resistance, not necessity. You can work hard and still be at ease. You can be productive without being frantic. You can move forward without constantly looking over your shoulder. And this mindset, this shift from resistance to flow, doesn't mean you abandon responsibility. It means you stop carrying the weight of unnecessary burdens, like fear, doubt, and the compulsion to control everything. Control is the illusion we cling to when we're afraid. We think that if we can just manage every variable, anticipate every outcome, we'll be safe. But control is not safety, it's stress. Life is far too vast, too interconnected, too mysterious for you to ever fully control. But you can trust. You can learn to respond instead of react. You can learn to adapt instead of resist, and in doing so, you gain a kind of strength that doesn't wear you down, it lifts you up. Nature teaches this better than any textbook ever could. A river doesn't fight the rocks in its path, it flows around them. A tree doesn't resent the storm, it bends with the wind. And in that flexibility, in that surrender to the greater order of things, it survives. More than that, it thrives. You too are part of nature. You too were built not just to endure, but to harmonize. And the more you resist that truth, the more dissonance you create within yourself. We live in a culture obsessed with forcing outcomes. We write goals in stone and then punish ourselves when life dares to write a different story. But what if the path that life is showing you, the one you're resisting, is actually better than the one you're chasing? What if that delay, that detour, that unexpected change is not a punishment, but a redirection towards something more aligned with your true nature? You'd only ever find out if you stopped resisting long enough to listen. This is the paradox. The more you relax, the more powerfully you move. The less you resist, the more life gives you. It's not passivity, it's precision. You no longer waste energy on what doesn't serve you. You begin to act from clarity, not compulsion. And your decisions, your actions, your presence become rooted, grounded, wise. People will sense the difference in you. They'll feel your calm, your ease, and they'll wonder how you're doing so much without looking like you're trying. For so long you haven't given yourself the time and space you deserve to feel what you feel. You'll begin to act in free will. And they'll wonder how you're doing so much without looking like you're trying. That's the beauty of living without resistance. You're no longer trying to prove anything. You're simply living in harmony with what is. Letting go of resistance is not about giving up. It's about tuning in. It's about noticing the subtle cues life is constantly offering you. It's about understanding that peace doesn't come from fixing the external world, but from adjusting your inner posture toward it. So when life doesn't go your way, instead of clenching, you open. Instead of fighting, you listen. And what you'll often find is that the situation you thought was a problem is simply an invitation to grow, to shift, to surrender. Most people never experience this because they never stop resisting long enough to notice. They're too busy trying to outsmart life, to outmaneuver pain, to outpace uncertainty. But life is not something to outwit. It's something to experience. And the deepest experiences, the most profound awakenings, only happen when you've stopped wrestling with reality and started flowing with it. The present moment is all there ever truly is. Yet it's the very thing most people spend their entire lives avoiding. They either linger in memories, trying to relive what is already gone, or they race ahead, anxiously imagining a future that hasn't happened. In both cases, they are absent from the only place life is actually occurring, right here, right now. This avoidance is so normal, so routine, that most never question it. But if you take just a moment, if you pause and become still enough to really see, you'll notice that the present is not empty. It's overflowing, full of sound, of breath, of color, of possibility. And you don't have to go chasing peace or purpose or meaning somewhere else. It's all here, quietly waiting to be seen. But the mind doesn't want to rest in the present. It is addicted to movement, addicted to solving, addicted to storytelling. It wants to go back and reanalyze every mistake, every betrayal, every wound. It wants to fast forward and plan every step, control every outcome, and guarantee safety in a future that may never arrive. And in this endless cycle, the richness of life slips by. You become a ghost in your own existence, always moving, never arriving. The tragedy is not that life moves too fast. The tragedy is that we're too distracted to feel it. People often say they want to be happy. They want to feel peace, love, fulfillment, but they look for these things in the wrong direction. They think happiness will come when something changes. When they get the job, the partner, the house, the money, they think peace will arrive when the chaos finally stops. But all of these things are conditional. And the truth is, if you're not at peace with the present, no future will ever satisfy you, because every future eventually becomes another present. And if you haven't trained yourself to be fully alive now, you'll carry that discontent with you no matter where you go or what you achieve. This is why relaxing into the present moment is so transformative, not just in a poetic sense, but in a deeply practical one. When you're fully present, you are no longer caught in the noise of what was or what might be. You're clear. You're open. You begin to notice things you missed before, the feeling of air on your skin, the sound of your own breath, the expressions on people's faces, the beauty in the smallest, most ordinary thing. The moment becomes alive, and in that aliveness, clarity arises, insight arises, and in that aliveness, nothing true self, problem, or panic The beginning of collecting, not completion, becomes a mystery. The utter depth. There is a deep intelligence in presence. When you are here, really here, decisions don't feel like pressure. They feel like knowing. You no longer have to overthink every choice because your inner compass becomes louder than the external noise. You respond rather than react. You listen rather than assume. And life begins to unfold not through force but through flow. This isn't mystical, it's biological. A relaxed, present mind accesses more of its capacity. Creativity increases. Awareness sharpens. Compassion deepens. And you begin to operate from a level of consciousness that isn't scrambling for survival, but resonating with wisdom. People often ask how they can make better decisions, how they can find direction. But the answer is usually not in doing more. It's in being more still. Most confusion is not due to lack of information. It's due to lack of presence. When the mind is constantly racing, it creates static. But when you bring it into the now, even for a few breaths, the static begins to clear. You begin to hear again, not just the external world, but your internal world, your intuition. That quiet, steady voice that doesn't shout like fear does, but gently guides like a river does. And yet most people are terrified of the present. Because to be present is to be with what is. Not what you wish were true, not what you're afraid might happen, but what is right now. And for many, that's uncomfortable. Because in the present moment, you can't hide behind stories. You can't blame the past or escape into the future. You have to meet yourself exactly where you are, with your sadness, with your uncertainties, with your longing. But here's the secret. The moment you do that, the moment you stop running, you discover that those things you were avoiding, they aren't monsters. They're messengers. They're not there to destroy you. They're there to awaken you. There is a sacredness to this moment that is so often overlooked. We chase enlightenment as though it's a destination, when really it's just the full recognition of now. It's sitting in a chair and feeling the way your body makes contact with the cushion. It's watching the light dance on the wall. It's hearing the sound of the wind, the laughter of a child, the beating of your heart. These are not distractions from the spiritual path. These are the paths. And when you pay attention to them, when you relax into their simplicity, you begin to understand that life has never been elsewhere. It has only ever been here. You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect to be present. In fact, presence is what begins to make things feel more perfect. You stop seeing life as something to fix and begin seeing it as something to feel. You stop trying to make sense of everything and begin trusting that everything already makes sense in a way far deeper than your mind can grasp. And in that trust there is peace. Not a peace that depends on circumstances, but a peace that simply is. A peace that rises from within the stillness of being. A peace that cannot be taken because it was never given by the world to begin with. To relax into the present is not to become passive. It is to become powerful. Because now you're no longer pulled and pushed by the currents of time. You're anchored. You're steady. And from that stillness, you act not out of habit, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, out of alignment, out of presence. And what you'll find is that life, when met with presence, begins to open up in ways you never imagined. A relaxed mind is a gateway, not a withdrawal. It is not an escape from the world, but a way of being more fully present within it. Most people have been conditioned to believe that tension is necessary for intelligence, that seriousness, urgency, and constant thinking are the marks of a capable person. But in truth, a mind that is always tense is a mind that is too narrow, too burdened, too noisy to allow real intelligence to emerge. Intelligence is not frantic, it's not agitated, it's spacious. It has room to breathe. It watches. It listens. And this kind of watching, this kind of listening, only happens when the mind is still, not because it's dull, but because it's deeply alive. When the mind is tight, gripped with stress or fear, it moves in circles. It recycles old thoughts, rehearses imaginary scenarios, ruminates over the past, and fixates on the future. It mistakes activity for clarity. It generates 1,000 solutions, none of which bring peace, because all of them arise from the same restless place. But a relaxed mind, a mind at ease, moves differently. It doesn't chase answers, it receives them. It doesn't strain to find the right decision, it lets the truth reveal itself. And this doesn't happen through effort. It happens through trust. The kind of trust that comes from knowing you don't have to force wisdom. You just have to stop blocking it. It's a strange paradox. The more tightly you grip your thoughts, the more they spin out of control. The more you try to think your way through everything, the more confused you become. But when you let go, just for a moment, when you stop trying so hard to figure it all out, space opens up. And in that space, clarity begins to form. Not always immediately. Sometimes it starts as a feeling, a shift in your body, a sense of lightness. Other times it's a sudden knowing, as if something inside you whispered the exact thing you needed to hear. But it only comes when the noise quiets down. And it's not just mental noise that gets in the way, it's emotional tension too. Anxiety, guilt, shame, fear. These tighten the mind like a clenched fist. They cloud perception. They distort meaning. They create urgency where there is none. And under their influence, you make choices not out of wisdom, but out of pressure. You speak not from truth, but from defense. You react instead of respond. But a relaxed mind is not easily provoked. It doesn't rush. It doesn't fall for every trick of the ego. It pauses. It sees. It waits. And that pause, however small, is everything. Can't, have, hated, pufferted. It's puffery. There's a calm kind of intelligence that many people never access because they're too addicted to speed. They think being quick is the same as being smart. But speed without direction is useless. Fast thinking doesn't mean good thinking. In fact, some of the most destructive decisions ever made came from people who thought too fast and too shallow. The relaxed mind is not interested in speed. It's interested in depth. It's not about coming up with an answer in 5 seconds. It's about arriving at the right answer when the time is right. This is where true creativity is born, not from anxiety or deadlines or pressure, but from stillness. The artist who paints something timeless, the writer who pens a phrase that touches the soul, the leader who sees a solution no one else could, they're not operating from stress. They're drawing from a deeper well, and to reach that well, the mind must be relaxed. It must be soft, receptive, open, not shut down, not passive, but clear like a quiet sky. You can't see the stars when the clouds are thick. You can't hear the music of life when your thoughts are screaming. The relaxed mind doesn't silence thought, it just stops identifying with every thought. It sees the mind's activity, but doesn't get lost in it. And in that awareness, new thoughts, real thoughts, emerge. Even in conversation, this kind of mind makes a difference. Most people listen just enough to respond, but not enough to understand. They're already forming their reply before the other person finishes speaking. Their minds are busy, calculating, defensive. But the relaxed mind listens differently. It listens not just with the ears, but with the heart. It listens without trying to control the outcome, without trying to win. And because it's not driven by insecurity or fear, it hears more. It understands more. And in that understanding, deeper connection is possible. Even memory improves when the mind is relaxed. Attention becomes sharper, observation becomes more precise. You notice the subtle things, the tone behind the words, the tension in someone's eyes, the silence between the lines. You begin to read life more clearly, not because you're trying harder, but because you're resisting less. You're no longer caught in the storm of your own mind, so you can finally see what's right in front of you. And that kind of seeing is the foundation of wisdom. Relaxation is not a luxury. Relax. Just breathe. There is a rhythm to life, a dance that flows beneath the surface of all things. For so long, you may have felt out of step, as if you were trying to force a melody that wasn't quite yours. But now you are stepping into a new song, one that matches the depth of your spirit, the true measure of your worth. Imagine that life is like a river, not something to be wrestled or controlled, but something to be entered with grace. When you relax into this current, you find that the river is carrying you exactly where you need to be, flowing effortlessly toward the life you were always meant to live. You see, much of our suffering comes from resistance, trying to be something we are not, chasing after illusions of success, love, or happiness that others have defined for us. Yet the truth is simple. Your worth is not something to be earned or proven. It is an inherent part of your being, a seed planted by the universe itself. When you finally cease struggling against yourself, when you allow your true nature to emerge, you begin to attract a life that honors who you really are. The doors that were once closed begin to open, not because you have fought harder, but because you have stopped fighting and started flowing. It is a paradox. To gain everything, you must first let go. To move forward, you must first be still. The life that matches your worth is not a destination far away or a prize to be won. It is the unfolding of your own essence into the world, the natural consequence of living authentically and with ease. Think of a tree. No matter how much it struggles, it cannot change the seasons or the soil beneath its roots. Yet, When it relaxes into the conditions around it, it blossoms fully, bearing fruit without effort. So too, your life will begin to flourish when you stop resisting the natural flow and trust that what is coming is perfectly aligned with your value. Relaxation here is not passivity or surrender to despair. It is a conscious invitation to trust the timing and unfolding of your path. It is the gentle acknowledgement that you are enough, exactly as you are, and the universe is already conspiring to bring you experiences, people, and opportunities that reflect this truth. When you release the tight grip of fear and doubt, space opens for miracles, small and large, to enter your life. The weight of expectations falls away, and you begin to breathe more freely, moving with the currents of possibility rather than against them. You may wonder why this shift happens now, why the life that matches your worth seems suddenly within reach after so much struggle. The answer is that the universe has been waiting for you to stop running and start arriving. It has been waiting for you to remember that your worth was never lost or diminished by past mistakes, failures, or the judgments of others. Instead, worth has been quietly growing inside you, like a flame sheltered from the wind, waiting for you to nurture it with self-acceptance and trust. And now, as you relax, that flame bursts into brilliant light, illuminating a path that was always yours to walk. Do not fear the unknown that lies ahead. The life that matches your worth may look different from what you expected. It may call you to release old identities, relationships, or habits that no longer serve your growth. But remember, growth is never about becoming more. It is about becoming more you. When you honor your worth, you create space for transformation that feels natural, joyful, and effortless. The universe meets you there, ready to respond with blessings and abundance that match the value you have always carried within. Relax into the flow of your life. Feel the energy of alignment stirring in your bones, in your breath, in the quiet spaces of your mind. You are stepping into a reality that reflects the truth of your being. A life where your gifts are recognized, your spirit is nourished, and your presence is cherished. This is not a fantasy or a distant dream. It is the reality waiting for you to claim simply by being fully yourself, relaxed and radiant in your worth. So let go of the struggle. Release the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the heaviness in your heart. Let the river carry you with ease, for it knows the way better than your mind ever could. Trust that the life unfolding before you is the life that truly belongs to you. A life in harmony with your worth, your beauty, and your deepest desires. Relax and step into it. There is a profound truth that often escapes us in the noise of everyday life. Your worth is not something you have to earn, fight for, or prove to anyone. It is not a prize to be won after endless struggle, nor is it a status bestowed by others' approval or society's standards. Instead, your worth is an inherent part of your existence, woven into the very fabric of who you are from the moment of your birth. This worth is intrinsic, eternal, and unchanging. To grasp this is to begin a journey of profound peace and transformation. Most people spend their lives trying to measure their value by external achievements, successes, possessions, accolades, or the approval of others. They look to their careers, relationships, or social standing and say, If only I had this, then I would be worthy. But this mindset creates a cycle of endless striving and dissatisfaction because it places your worth on a shifting foundation. What happens when you don't reach those goals? What happens when approval is withheld or recognition denied? Suddenly, worth feels fragile, conditional, and uncertain. Yet beneath all these external layers lies a deeper truth. Worth is not dependent on what you do or how others see you. It is the quiet, steady pulse of your being. It is the light that shines simply because you exist. Imagine a diamond buried beneath layers of dirt. No matter how much grime covers it, the diamond's value remains untouched. So too, your worth remains untouched by failure, rejection, or hardship. It is a treasure inside you, waiting to be recognized and embraced. Understanding this means that you are not your mistakes, your past, or the judgments cast upon you. These things are experiences and stories, but they do not define your essence. Your worth transcends any label or circumstance. This is not a vague idea or feel-good platitude. It is a fundamental principle of life. Every person carries this worth simply by being alive. It is the root of your dignity, the foundation of your humanity, and the source of your unique gift. This realization invites a shift from desperation to acceptance. When you stop chasing validation from the outside, you begin to find it within. You start to see yourself as enough, complete and whole just as you are. This is not arrogance or pride, but a quiet confidence born from knowing your true nature. It is the freedom to be authentic without fear or pretense. You no longer need to wear masks or perform roles to prove you belong, because you know your value is inherent. When you live from this place of inner worth, the world around you begins to change as well. You attract relationships and opportunities that honor and reflect your true self, because you are no longer sending signals of insecurity or neediness. Instead, you radiate calm, confidence, and authenticity. This vibration invites harmony and alignment, drawing experiences that match your worth. It is as if the universe responds to your recognition of your own value by opening doors that were previously closed. But this awakening does not come overnight. For many, it requires unlearning a lifetime of conditioning, messages that tell you to earn love, to prove your worth through achievement, or to compare yourself constantly with others. These false beliefs create barriers to the simple truth of your inherent value. The path to embracing your worth is often through patience, self-compassion, and persistent practice. It involves looking beneath the surface of your thoughts and feelings, beyond your fears and doubts, to find the unshakable core within. In this journey, you may encounter moments of resistance, times when old insecurities rise up or when the world seems to challenge your sense of self. These moments are part of the process, invitations to deepen your understanding and commitment to your true worth. They are opportunities to practice gentleness with yourself and to reaffirm the truth that you are enough, regardless of external circumstances. There is also a deep liberation in releasing the need for constant approval. When you no longer seek permission to exist or to be loved, you reclaim your power. Your energy is no longer spent trying to fit into others' expectations or ideals. Instead, you direct it toward nourishing your soul and expressing your unique gifts. This is when your life begins to flow naturally, not because you force it, but because you align with the truth of your worth. Moreover, this intrinsic worth is not static, it is alive and growing. Each act of self-acceptance, each moment of kindness toward yourself strengthens the foundation of your value. you begin to realize that your worth is connected to something greater than yourself, a universal presence, a creative force, or simply the mystery of existence that imbues every living being with dignity. This connection enriches your understanding and invites humility and gratitude alongside confidence. It is important to remember that embracing your worth does not mean you will never experience pain, failure, or rejection. These are part of the human experience and serve their own purpose in growth and wisdom. But when your worth is rooted deeply within, these challenges do not shake your sense of self. They become temporary ripples on the surface of a profound inner peace. Living in awareness of your inherent worth transforms how you engage with the world. You start to set boundaries that protect your energy and honor your value. You make choices that nurture your well-being rather than deplete it. You recognize that you deserve kindness, respect, and love, not because you have earned them, but because you are inherently worthy of them. In this state of recognition, your life begins to shift naturally toward harmony and fulfillment. The struggle to prove yourself fades, replaced by a quiet assurance that you are already enough. This is the gateway to the life that matches your worth, a life where you no longer have to chase or convince, but simply be and receive. The universe delights in your presence and aligns with the vibration of your authentic self. So embrace this truth fully. Your worth is not a reward. It is your birthright. It is the foundation upon which every joy, success, and meaningful connection in your life can be built. When you relax into this knowledge, you release the chains of doubt and step into a flow of existence that is abundant, beautiful, and deeply aligned with who you truly are. Struggle and resistance have long been mistaken for the marks of strength and progress. Society often praises those who fight hardest, push through the toughest obstacles, and refuse to yield. But there is a quiet wisdom in knowing that resistance, especially resistance to your true self and the natural flow of life, is not strength. It is suffering. When you struggle against what is, when you try to control or force outcomes that are not aligned with your inner being, you create tension and discord within yourself. This tension becomes a barrier that blocks the very alignment you seek, keeping you stuck in cycles of frustration and exhaustion. Resistance can take many forms. It can be the internal battle against your own doubts and fears, the attempt to fit into roles that do not resonate with your soul, or the endless effort to chase after goals that others have imposed on you as measures of success. It is the constant should and must, the voice that tells you to be more, do more, or become someone else to be worthy or accepted. This resistance is often fueled by the mistaken belief that your value depends on these external validations, making you fight for something that is already within you. When you resist, you are essentially saying no to the present moment and to the natural unfolding of your life. You are trying to rewrite a story that the universe is already telling perfectly. This refusal to accept what is creates a tension that ripples through every aspect of your existence. Your mind races, your body tightens, and your spirit feels heavy. The harder you push, the more the river of life seems to pull you under or push you sideways away from the path of ease and grace. Yet paradoxically, surrendering this resistance is the very act that brings you closer to your true path. It is not giving up or giving in to defeat, but rather a profound acceptance that what is happening is part of your journey. When you stop struggling against the current and instead float with it, you discover that the river is not your enemy but your guide. The flow begins to carry you toward opportunities, relationships, and experiences that are in harmony with your essence. And this shift from resistance to flow requires courage because it means facing uncertainty and relinquishing control. We are often taught that control is safety, that if we just manage every detail, then everything will be all right. But in truth, control is an illusion, and clinging to it only tightens the grip of resistance. When you allow yourself to relax into the unknown, you open the door for something greater than your limited understanding to take charge. The universe moves in mysterious and perfect ways, often beyond the scope of your plans and fears. Resistance also blocks the natural expression of your talents and gifts. When you force yourself to conform or chase external approval, your creativity and spirit become stifled. Imagine a flower trying to bloom in the dark or under a heavy weight. It can't fully open or shine. But when the flower is given the right conditions and space, it blossoms effortlessly. So too, when you stop resisting your true nature and the circumstances of your life, you allow your inner light to shine freely. This openness invites synchronicities and blessings that were previously hidden behind the veil of struggle. One of the most profound effects of resistance is how it disconnects you from your inner wisdom and intuition. When you are caught in the cycle of pushing and fighting, your mind becomes noisy and overwhelmed, drowning out the subtle whispers of your heart. This disconnect leads to choices that are not aligned with your deepest desires and values, perpetuating the cycle of resistance. But when you cultivate relaxation and trust, you begin to hear the quiet guidance within, the inner compass that leads you toward your true north. Resistance can also manifest in relationships, where the desire to control outcomes or the need to be accepted creates tension and conflict. Trying to mold others to fit your expectations or resisting change in a relationship often causes pain and disconnection. Yet, when you practice acceptance, both of yourself and others, you create space for authentic connection. This acceptance does not mean tolerating harm or sacrificing your boundaries, but rather embracing reality without unnecessary struggle. It allows love, respect, and understanding to flow naturally, mirroring the harmony you cultivate within. There is a freedom in letting go of resistance that cannot be overstated. When you stop fighting what is, you stop wasting precious energy on battles that do not serve you. This reclaimed energy can be invested in creativity, growth, and joy. Relaxation becomes a powerful tool for transformation. Not a passive state, but an active choice to align with life rather than against it. This alignment opens the door to miracles, unexpected solutions, and a deep sense of peace. You may wonder how to begin releasing resistance when it has been such a familiar part of your life. The first step is awareness. Recognizing the moments when you are struggling against reality or yourself, notice the tension in your body, the racing thoughts, or the emotional discomfort that signals resistance. Then gently invite yourself to breathe and relax into the present moment. This simple act of surrender begins to loosen the grip of control and fear. Practicing mindfulness and meditation can help cultivate this awareness and relaxation. These practices train you to observe without judgment, to accept what arises without needing to change it immediately. Over time, this builds trust in the process of life and in your own ability to navigate uncertainty. You learn that life does not need to be controlled or feared, but embraced with curiosity and openness. Remember that letting go of resistance is not about perfection or never struggling again. It is about shifting your relationship to struggle, choosing to meet life's challenges with grace rather than force, with acceptance rather than denial. Each moment of relaxation in the face of difficulty strengthens your connection to flow and alignment. Ultimately, resistance blocks the life that matches your worth because it keeps you disconnected from your true self and the natural rhythms of existence. When you release this resistance, you open the way for a life of ease, joy, and fulfillment. The struggle fades, and in its place arises a deep trust that the universe is guiding you exactly where you need to be. This trust becomes the foundation for the life that reflects your inherent value. A life lived not in battle. This trust becomes the foundation of your soul. When you think of relaxation, it might conjure images of rest or inactivity, but true relaxation, especially in the context of aligning with the life that matches your worth, is something much deeper and more powerful. It is an active surrender, a conscious choice to let go of tension, control, and resistance so that you can move fluidly with the unfolding of your existence. Relaxation is the invitation to align with the natural flow of life, to open yourself to the abundance that is waiting for you when you release the barriers you have unknowingly built. Abundance is not simply about material wealth or external success. It is a state of being where you feel fulfilled, nourished, and in harmony with the world around you. This abundance flows effortlessly when you stop trying to force things, stop pushing against the current, and instead relax into the process of becoming. When you relax, you send a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive, ready to be guided, and ready to allow what truly belongs to you to enter your life. The idea that relaxation invites flow and abundance might seem counterintuitive in a culture that glorifies hustle and constant striving. We have been taught to believe that success is the result of relentless effort, and that only by controlling every detail can we secure the life we desire. Yet this mentality often leads to burnout, frustration, and a feeling of emptiness despite achievements. True power lies not in the force of will, but in the grace of surrender, knowing when to act and when to allow, when to push and when to release. Relaxation creates space within you, space where clarity can arise, where your intuition can be heard, and where creative solutions to your challenges can emerge. When your mind and body are relaxed, you become more receptive to inspiration and guidance that might otherwise be drowned out by stress and overthinking. This openness is like clearing the fog so you can see the path ahead clearly. It also allows the energy of abundance to circulate freely, breaking down blockages that have held you back. In the relaxed state, your energy vibrates at a frequency that attracts positive experiences. This is a subtle but profound truth. Like attracts like. When you are tense, anxious, or fearful, you emit vibrations that resonate with struggle and limitation. Conversely, when you are calm, centered, and relaxed, you draw to yourself circumstances and people that mirror that state of ease. The universe responds to the energy you project, aligning circumstances to match your inner condition. Furthermore, relaxation is a demonstration of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the universe, and trust in the process of life. This trust is essential because it allows you to release the need for immediate results or specific outcomes. When you stop grasping tightly to how things should be and instead embrace what is, you become a magnet for blessings that often surpass your expectations. These blessings come in many forms: new opportunities, supportive relationships, unexpected insights, or simple moments of joy and peace. Relaxation also has a healing quality. When you relax deeply, your nervous system shifts from a state of fight or flight into one of rest and restoration. This physiological change opens your heart and mind, making it easier to release past wounds, forgive yourself and others, and move forward with a lighter spirit. Healing creates fertile ground for abundance because it removes the energetic barriers of pain and fear that block the flow of life's gifts. One of the most beautiful aspects of relaxation is that it invites synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that feel like the universe is winking at you, guiding you toward your destiny. When you relax into the flow, you notice patterns and connections that were invisible before. Doors open in surprising ways. People appear just when you need them, and solutions arise spontaneously. As these synchronicities are signs that you are aligned with your worth and that the life you desire is not just a dream, but a reality unfolding. Relaxation is not about passivity or complacency. It does not mean giving up on your goals or dreams. Rather, it is a dynamic state of being where you engage fully with life while releasing the unnecessary tension of control and struggle. It is the art of balancing action with receptivity, knowing when to step forward confidently and when to pause and let life catch up. This balance is where creativity, wisdom, and grace reside. Many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of surrender and trust as keys to living a fulfilled life. This surrender is not defeat, but a powerful acknowledgement that life is greater than your limited perspective. By relaxing, you acknowledge that there is a greater intelligence at work, one that supports your growth and well-being in ways you cannot always see or predict. This acknowledgement lightens your load and opens you to receive the support that has always been available. Practicing relaxation can take many forms. It might be through meditation, deep breathing, mindful movement, or simply spending quiet time in nature. Whatever method resonates with you, the goal is to cultivate a state of openness and presence that becomes a natural part of your daily life. As you do this, you begin to notice that your worries lessen, your decisions become clearer, and your experiences become richer and more fulfilling. In this relaxed state, you align not only with your worth, but with the flow of abundance itself. You begin to understand that abundance is not something outside of you to be grasped, but a natural state of being that arises when you allow yourself to be fully present and receptive. You realize that you are already part of an infinite wellspring of creativity, love, and possibility that never runs dry. Relaxation is the doorway to this infinite wellspring. When you step through it, you enter a life where what you truly deserve, joy, peace, fulfillment, and success, flows to you effortlessly. You stop struggling to prove your value and start living it. In this space, miracles become ordinary, and your life becomes a reflection of the worth that has always been inside you. And so, embrace relaxation not as a retreat from life, but as a profound act of engagement with the universe. Allow yourself to be carried by the current of abundance, and trust that what is coming is perfectly aligned with your deepest worth. In this state, you are free to be who you truly are, and the life that matches your value unfolds naturally, beautifully, and without resistance. Growth is often misunderstood as a process of adding more to ourselves. More skills, more achievements, more titles, more possessions, as if becoming more in quantity or status will somehow complete us. Yet true growth is far subtler and more profound. It is not about accumulation, but about discovery, uncovering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear. It is a process of becoming more you, more authentic, more aligned with the essence that has always existed within you. This understanding shifts the entire perspective on transformation, from a battle to become something else, to a gentle unveiling of your real self. Many spend their lives trying to sculpt themselves into idealized versions defined by society, family, or even their own limiting beliefs. They chase identities shaped by what they think they should be: successful, popular, accepted, or perfect. But these identities are often masks that hide the true self beneath. They can feel heavy and exhausting to maintain, and the more you wear them, the more disconnected you become from your authentic core. This disconnect creates inner conflict and dissatisfaction, because no matter how much you achieve or change outwardly, a part of you feels unseen and unheard. And always in true growth invites you to shed these masks rather than add new ones. It asks you to let go of what no longer serves you: old fears, limiting beliefs, unhealthy patterns, and external pressures, and to step into a fuller expression of who you are. This process is often uncomfortable because it requires honesty and vulnerability. It means facing parts of yourself you may have ignored or rejected, but within this vulnerability lies freedom. When you release what is false, what remains is the pure essence of your being, radiant and whole. Becoming more you also means embracing your uniqueness, the qualities, passions, and perspectives that set you apart. These are not flaws to hide or fix, but gifts to celebrate and share. Often, people suppress their individuality to fit in or avoid judgment. But in doing so, they deny the world the contribution only they can make. Growth is reclaiming your voice, your vision, and your power to live life on your own terms, guided by the truth of your heart. This process of becoming more you is not a solitary journey. It is deeply connected to the rhythms of life and the relationships you cultivate. When you honor your authenticity, you attract connections that reflect and support your growth. These relationships are not about dependency or validation, but about mutual respect and shared growth. They become mirrors that reflect back your true self and companions on your path, encouraging you to deepen your understanding and expression. Transformation through becoming more you also shifts your relationship with challenges. Instead of resisting or fearing difficulties, you begin to see them as invitations for growth and self-discovery. Each challenge reveals something new about your resilience, creativity, and capacity for love. They become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Opportunities to shed old layers and step more fully into your true identity. The beauty of this kind of growth is that it aligns with your worth. When you become more you, you stop trying to earn worthiness through external achievements because you recognize that your worth is intrinsic. This alignment creates a deep sense of peace and fulfillment that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. It is a life lived from a place of integrity and authenticity, where your actions and choices resonate with your inner truth. This unfolding of your authentic self is a natural process, like a flower blooming in its own time and way. It cannot be rushed or forced, nor can it be dictated by others' expectations. It requires patience and trust in your own timing. Sometimes growth feels like a gentle expansion. Other times it is a sudden breakthrough. Both are part of the rhythm of becoming more you. Growth also invites a deeper connection to the world around you. As you become more aligned with your essence, you begin to see the interconnectedness of all life. Your actions ripple outward, influencing and inspiring others in ways you may never fully know. This awareness fosters humility and gratitude, enriching your experience and deepening your sense of purpose. It is important to remember that becoming more you does not mean perfection or flawlessness. Authenticity includes embracing your imperfections, contradictions, and complexities. These are the very things that make you human and relatable. Growth is about accepting all parts of yourself with compassion and curiosity, allowing yourself to evolve without judgment or harshness. In this journey, self-compassion becomes a vital companion. As you shed old layers and step into your truth, you may encounter moments of doubt, fear, or pain. Treat these moments with kindness, recognizing that growth is not a straight line, but a spiral with twists and turns. Each step, even the difficult ones, contributes to your unfolding and expansion. Ultimately, growth as becoming more you leads to a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and aligned. It is a life where your worth is not measured by external markers, but by the depth of your self-acceptance and the clarity of your purpose. This kind of growth opens the door to joy, creativity, and connection that flow naturally from living in harmony with your true self. As you embrace this process, you will notice a shift in how you engage with the world. Decisions become easier because they are guided by your inner compass rather than fear or obligation. You find yourself drawn to experiences that nourish your soul and release those that drain your energy. Your presence becomes a beacon of authenticity that attracts others who are also seeking to live from their truth. In this way, growth is not about becoming someone else or reaching an ideal, but about becoming fully and unapologetically yourself. It is the journey from survival to thriving, from conformity to freedom, from fragmentation to wholeness. Each step forward is a declaration of your worth and an invitation to live a life that truly matches it. Trusting the timing and journey of life is one of the most challenging yet liberating shifts you can make. In a world obsessed with speed, instant results, and constant movement, patience often feels like a foreign concept. We want answers now, progress immediately, and signs that reassure us we are on the right path. Yet the deeper truth is that life unfolds according to a rhythm far wiser and more intricate than our limited understanding. Trusting this timing means surrendering the frantic desire to control every detail, and instead embracing the flow of your unique journey with faith and openness. When you learn to trust the timing of your life, you begin to release the tension of anxiety and impatience that so often clouds your experience. You stop measuring your worth or success by arbitrary deadlines or comparisons to others' achievements. Instead, you recognize that your path is unlike anyone else's, a sacred unfolding tailored perfectly to your growth and fulfillment. This trust creates a space within you where peace can reside, even amid uncertainty or waiting. The journey itself is as important as the destination. Each step, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, holds value and purpose. Trusting this means embracing the process of becoming rather than fixating solely on outcomes. Sometimes the lessons you need most come wrapped in delays, detours, or challenges that feel frustrating in the moment, but are essential for your growth and preparation. By trusting your journey, you allow yourself to receive these lessons with grace rather than resistance. This trust is not passive resignation, but an active choice to align your will with the greater flow of life. It requires patience, but also attentiveness, a willingness to listen deeply to the subtle signs, intuitive nudges, and inner wisdom that guide you along the way. When you cultivate this sensitivity, you begin to discern when to act and when to wait, when to push forward and when to rest. This balance is the dance of trust and timing, where your actions are informed by both your desires and the larger currents shaping your path. Many people struggle with trusting their timing because of fear. Fear that waiting means losing opportunities, falling behind, or never reaching their dreams. These fears often stem from a mistaken belief that life is a race or competition, where speed equals success. But life is not a sprint. It is a vast unfolding story with its own pacing and wisdom. Trusting your timing invites you to see beyond the immediate and embrace the long view, where everything comes together in perfect harmony at the right moment. This perspective shift also brings a profound sense of relief. When you stop forcing things to happen before their time, you release the weight of frustration and disappointment. You stop burning energy on worry and doubt, and instead conserve your strength for the moments when action will be most effective. This trust allows you to rest in the assurance that what is meant for you will not pass you by.